Hello everyone, welcome back to Selene Apoptosis. Let's go ahead and continue. Ethan sat in front of his laptop staring at the monitor. The concave muzzles of Persian cats stared back at him. All that was required of Ethan. He had to call the cattery. A simple task, but Ethan hesitated. It was hard for him to get used to the idea of one of these pop-eyed creatures walking around their apartment. During the day, it will nap where it pleases, and at night sneak into the kitchen to play with the shadows that move by themselves. And its eyes will turn into two saucers of black and green nacre if the light reaches them. Ancient people believed cats could walk between worlds and see spirits. Looking at Persians, Ethan hardly believed they could even breathe on their own. And yet, in this Ethan Harrison from the 21st century agreed with the ancient people. There was something sinister about them. In any case, he should call the cattery. For Hope's sake. For the sake of both of them, since he had made the decision. Ethan had already picked up the phone and was about to proceed with the plan when he heard the key turn in the entrance door. Something about that wound him up. It's barely 5 o'clock in the evening, which was, in any way, very early for Hope to be back. If everything was fine, that is. Ethan closed his laptop and went out into the hallway. For a long time he couldn't say a single word, and when he could speak again he only managed one question. What have you done? Hope's smile faded, and for the first time in the 4.5, or even 5 years they'd been a couple, Ethan was glad of it. In fact, there was nothing surprising about it. As with the new haircut and new hair color, Hope looked unbearably, insanely similar to the creature at the window. Hope's lips turned white, trembling.
This didn't help, did it? Any of it? You can't love me even now, right?
What are you talking about?
Isn't it obvious? I see how you look at me. You're disgusted. You try your best to touch me as little as possible. And no matter what I do, no matter what I try, it doesn't help.
Admit it. You never loved her. You didn't, right, Ethan? She was convenient, and that's about it. Shit makes the flowers grow. And flowers grew so much, didn't they, Ethan? Didn't they?
Ethan would never hit his wife. More than that, he would never hit a woman. But what spoke to him was neither his wife nor a woman. It was a nightmare incarnate that bared its long, sharp teeth and came to take away his right for a second chance. Or so Ethan thought at the time. The punch turned out somewhat pathetic, but you have to take into account that wife beating is not a fairground attraction. When you hit your wife properly, a mark does not fly up to the highlight sign, a good one. Although this was only indirectly related to the early Renaissance, Ethan had expertise in the matter since his old man's fists used to itch often. there was something like that, they would know. However, if any sign could light up at the moment, it would say something like, "You're scum, Ethan." No! He kept repeating that even after Hope stormed out the door in tears. Ethan barely remembered the following few days. Something seemed to be happening. Some people called him. He himself called a lot. He called Hope. Hope wasn't answering the phone. He knew this would happen. Every time he dialed her number, he knew he'll end up listening to a voicemail signal. It became something of a ritual. He would wake up. Sometimes it was light outside, sometimes dark, but more often it was something gray. He neither could nor would want to identify because of the drawn curtains. He called Hope. Hope wouldn't answer the phone. He would go to the kitchen to turn the water on. He'd watch the silvery, twisted stream break against the sink for a while. Eventually, he'd put a cup on the stream, fill it to the brim. Drink. Go to the bathroom. Back to the couch. It's too bad to be true. All this can't be real. Life can't crumble to pieces in an instant. Just collapse inwards like a wooden block tower. Ethan couldn't remember the name of that game. Once he and Hope went to sea. He and Hope. It's too bad. All of this can't be real. He didn't do anything. Could it be that he didn't do anything? No. He hit Hope. He hit her, and a red blot spread across her cheek. It was too dark to see, but Ethan knew how it goes. How could he do that? What happens now? What can happen now? These thoughts were like a bunch of needles he tried to swallow over and over. Sometimes he managed to briefly forget about them. It would happen when he woke up in the gray timelessness, looked at the dirty white ceiling, and didn't remember who that Ethan Harrison was. But the pain would always come back. He had a bunch of needles in his throat, and no matter how much water he drank, he couldn't get rid of it. Hope's father shook him up a bit. Not in the sense he could have done it, grabbing a hold of him, lifting out the ground. Hope's father was a tough man, and despite his age, he could have hit Ethan hard. Ethan was afraid of it. At the same time, he wanted it to happen. That would have made everything easier. Maybe even fixed it all. Ethan was going over it in his head as he stared at the phone screen, displaying a familiar number. He was awfully scared, yet he answered. It turned out Hope had asked her father to pack up for her. Mr. Murley's voice was flat, maybe even a bit uncertain. Worst of all, he wasn't angry. This plunged Ethan into despair. He couldn't get his redemption like this. However, the upcoming visit forced Ethan to gain his senses. It shoved them back into reality, like a stream of people pushing one into a crowded subway train. He tidied up the place a bit. He shaved. He figured out what to say. Several times he rehearsed his speech in front of the mirror. And just before Mr. Murley's arrived, Ethan left the keys with the neighbors. Simply put, he fled. Of course, he warned Mr. Murley's beforehand, with a message, because he didn't have the heart to call. Ethan wanted Mr. Murley's to pick up what he had and get out as soon as possible. Mr. Murley's wasn't going to help. That's for sure. He wasn't going to help, which meant he simply got between Ethan and his wife. Ethan was angry with Mr. Murley's, like he was the source of all the trouble. Anger was boiling up inside him, mixing with cheap coffee, turning into caustic acid. There's nothing rational about this feeling. Ethan had plenty of time to think about it, to weigh it, to examine it under a magnifying glass. He was sitting in a small cafe on the corner street until the streets got dark. He would stay there even longer if a waiter hadn't come to his table to tell the place was closing. Ethan nodded absently and asked for a moment to use the bathroom. Again, there was nothing rational about being angry with Mr. Murley's. And to be honest, it was pathetic. Just like hitting your wife, and then running away not to face her father. You're scum, Ethan. Worthless scum. Ethan turned off the tap, stared at his reflection in a large mirror. A few drops of water trembled on the tip of his nose and chin. Now that was a proper punch. Sir, I'm sorry, but we... Sir? Are you okay? You have... Blood oozed from a split lip. Ethan wiped it with the back of his hand. Yes. Yes, I'm fine. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you. He smiled. The fresh wound got swollen with blood again. A red blot spread across his face, just as it should. Ethan didn't lie to the waiter. He really was fine. Maybe not in the same manner as before, but the gears in his head were starting to move again. When he got home, Mr. Murley's had already left. Turned out that he didn't even take the keys from the neighbors. At first, Ethan assumed Mr. Murley's could cancel the visit, but as soon as he opened the door, his doubts disappeared. A strong, unfamiliar scent was filling the hallway. It could be Mr. Murley's cologne, maybe the smell of the apartment itself, but Hope's presence faded away. Mr. Murley's must have taken his daughter's keys. Some other possibility never crossed Ethan's mind before. He drew the air in with his nostrils and suddenly felt, as sharp and clear as in that dream he had days ago, something was going to happen. Ethan looked around the empty, dark room and reached for the phone. Was it to perform the ritual, or was he hoping something would go different this time? Short beeps. Ethan thought it was safe to say something was already happening. He only had to figure what and where. Something had changed in the picture. It's not that Hope's favorite blouse is missing from the closet. If you find a difference, you win. If you find a difference, you'll know where the gears are taking you. The hallway. Pot-bellied bowls on the dresser, full of gibberish and dust. Kitchen. An uneven row of glass jars on the shelf. An empty coffee maker bearing dry blackness at the bottom. Spoons, forks, and knives. Some of them really sharp. The bathroom. A mirror on the wall, and the reflection the closed door is open. No, not here. What about? Ethan licked his split lip. Yes, that's it. He has to check his email now. Ethan was looking carefully. Seemed like a lot of time had passed. His mailbox was full of various emails, but Ethan barely glanced at the names. He was looking for something special, and what was special about, say, letters from the agency that were gradually becoming more and more concerned. At some point, concern turned into cold and aggressive. Ethan idly skimmed through the noise of contract termination. Not what he was looking for. Start with the oldest emails and scan the list all the way to the top. Nothing. Maybe he's looking in the wrong place. Maybe there's just nothing to look for. No. Something is happening. He only has to figure what and where. He then got so close to the accurate answer to those questions that the light of new knowledge could have burned out his eyes. On the top of the list was an untitled letter. Maybe Ethan missed it the first time. Maybe it just wasn't there before. The sender was the same writer Ethan had volunteered to help, maybe free of charge. Ethan's lungs turned to a deflated pool ball. He clicked on the name of the letter without a name. Of course, the letter actually had a name. Mail clients carefully add untitled to empty line, just in case you're losing it when you type your email, because something got out of that open door in the bathroom mirror. The poor guy begged Ethan to come. The mail said he couldn't sleep. Scared, exhausted, and didn't know who else to ask. Something will get him very soon, if he won't figure anything out. He didn't know if it was related to work he was doing. He didn't know how to drive away what had settled in his house. He only knew that something enormously hungry was looking at him from the darkness. You know what I mean, right? Ethan knew. By the time he finished reading the letter, Ethan already knew what he should do. Sweat broke out his upper lip. Ethan closed his eyes. No. Ethan said it with firm clarity. All the falling words that came out of his mouth were more and more quiet until his lips moved silently. No, I'm sorry. I can't help. I'm so sorry. He really was sorry. Sorry about his former life. Sorry for himself. Desperately, to the point his stomach clenched with a painful spasm. Sorry for Hope. Sorry for the poor rider who was being dragged deep into a cold vortex of darkness. But what could he, Ethan, do against that darkness? He failed. Maybe he had the skill to get the answers required, but they were buried too deep. At that depth, the water turned pitch black, and there were things in the blackness Ethan didn't know the names of. Didn't want to know. He took a deep breath, as if he was actually about to dive. Then he deleted the email. The letter with the title Untitled disappeared into a dark vortex. The frantic, terrified pleas for help were erased, leaving no trace as if they had never existed. No, it's not like that. Hope once told him it was a bad time for Ethan to recall this. The information on the internet doesn't really disappear after you click delete. Most often, it remains somewhere on the servers, and you just lose access to it. You turn the mirror to the wall and pretend like it's your fancy. There is nothing wrong with the reflection. In that case, the silent scream didn't vanish. It was now trapped. Trapped where no one could hear it. I'm so sorry. Ethan covered his face with his hands. The mirror on the wall of Ethan's dark bathroom was reflecting a closed door. Ethan and Hope got an official divorce 3 months later. They never talked about everything that happened. Ethan thought he would at least find the strength to apologize for all the lies Hope had listened to, but it didn't happen. He likes to think it was his decision, though deep down he knows the truth. Ethan's passion for history suddenly faded away. He can never imagine this would happen, or could he have imagined he'll return to work in the office. His days are filled with routine and small joys, like the fact that it's 6:30 p.m. already, and his workday's over. It's comforting, or at least it dulls the pain. At times, Ethan goes out to the bar with his colleagues to discuss the quarter's workload and celebrate the fact that it's Friday at last. Ethan's office is located in Square Park, right past the massive bridge. Sometimes on the way home, Ethan stops on the bridge and stares at the dark water below. Blue Lights Hotel. The blue lights, as blue as it gets. This happened, yes, around 5 a.m. I was standing right there, making a sandwich, a toast, some peanut butter, the jelly, yes. And I saw the blue lights. That's how I knew the veneer is very thin. I know it sounds like there's more to it, you know. You have to do this properly, or else you'll get into trouble. Yeah, some doors are bad. That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Once it's on, you can't stop it. That's how it goes. Oh, there's a devil in your house again. Can you fix that? Will it find you? Well, here's a little trick. Join the happy getaway. Book tickets today so devil never finds you. Ah, the tomato soup is finally reduced.
「とある雨の夜に見知らぬきれいな人が玄関先に現れた。君は